Hi, my name is Udit and I work in Germany as a finance professional. In today's video, we are going to talk about how evolutionary biology impacts our investing choices and behaviors. Our ancestors, Homo sapiens, evolved somewhere around 250,000 years ago in Africa. This has been a very long period of evolution. And back then, we started to live in small hunter gatherer tribes. And this went on till about 15,000 to 10,000 years ago when agriculture started evolving. With the evolution of agriculture, we started to develop larger communities, which in turn developed into villages and cities in later periods. So, this evolution has a very long backdated history, and the modern world where we are living in large cities, in establishments with law and order, is relatively new, which date back to only few hundred years. Now, we should understand in the prehistoric times, our key instinct was to survive the day because all around us there were threats of wild animals, there were threats of predators, there were threats of people from different tribes coming, attacking our tribe, taking our resources and people away. This was the major threat that everyone lived with. Our key instinct was to survive to see the next sunrise. So, this became ingrained in our behaviors from the prehistoric times to worry about our safety and well being. Compare this to the modern world, which, like I mentioned, is only a few hundred years old. Today, we don't have to worry about someone coming to rob our house in the evenings or a wild animal coming and killing us in the night. This is not the case with most of us in the modern world across different geographies. But the point is that since our behavior and psychology evolved over millennia, and this modern behavior kicked in only in the past few hundred years, so our minds have not been able to adapt to this sudden change which has happened in the past 300, 400 years. What is the result of it is we still exhibit certain behaviors which were exhibited by our ancestors in prehistoric times, which were also a result of the instinct for survival. Let me share these three cases. The first is xenophobia. We were used to seeing and trusting people who looked like us, who had similar belief systems like we do, who had similar food habits, who talked like us, and who were the part of the group that we were living in. And since at that point of time there was very little interaction from the people from different tribes, and also because the means of transportation and communication was limited, we did not know beyond a specific geography what kind of people lived. And whenever there was an interaction between two tribes, it was primarily that one tribe was trying to attack and take away the resources of another tribe. So there was an inherent aversion towards people who were different from us. So this kind of behavior evolved over thousands of years, and unfortunately it still rings in our brains because, like I said, our brains and behaviors have not been able to adapt to the modern world, which is fairly new compared to the history of our evolution. Secondly, our instinct for safety and well being also led us to following the larger group. In the prehistoric times, it was safer to follow the crowd, follow the larger group, because we had to trust in the wisdom of the crowd. Because if we were with the group, we were safer from the attacks of animals, we were safer from the attack from the other tribes and other predators. So it was natural to follow the crowd. This instinct still remains with us, wherein we try and imitate the behavior of the larger crowd. The third aspect, which is the flight mode that comes in as soon as we perceive any danger, this is also a result of thousands of years of evolution. As soon as our ancestors saw any wild animal or any situation like a natural calamity like fire or some kind of a disaster, the first instinct that we still carry with us is to survive by escaping that dangerous situation. So this behavior also comes in from our basic instinct to survive to the next day, which has evolved over thousands of years. Now, what is the relation between these behaviors which emanate from the need of safety and well-being, and how is it related to the mistakes that we make in investing? The first thing is the flight mode that kicks in case of dangers. So, whenever there's a market pullback, whenever there's a difficult situation that we find ourselves in, the prices correct to a large extent and there is panic in the market. And when we see panic in the market, when we see our money going down, when we see our savings going down the drain by the fall in the prices of the securities which are listed in the market, we tend to panic and we end up selling at low prices. But in markets, we should do exactly the opposite of what the crowd is doing, and hence we end up losing the money. This has happened for centuries, and this kind of behavior repeats in different cycles over hundreds of years. Since this is driven by the emotions of greed and fear, there is no technology, there is no artificial intelligence, there is nothing which can control this, because it is driven by human emotions, and the key emotion is the emotion of fear of survival. Similarly, we tend to follow the crowds because we are wired from our ancestors to follow the crowd just to be safe, because we have to trust in the wisdom of the crowds. And if we read about the success of majority of the successful investors, they have all been contrarian. They took positions in the market when they had to go against what the crowd was saying, and this led to the success. So these two kinds of behaviors, which is going with the crowd and escaping in case of dangers or trouble, is something that we are naturally wired in. This behavior always kicks in, but it is totally not in line with what is required for success in investing pursuits. So, what is important here is to understand how our behavior kicks in, why do we behave the way that they do, so that we can understand why we are reacting in a certain situation the way that we are reacting, and also control our behaviors in a way that we can manage ourselves better, our careers better, and also be successful in our investment journey by learning from the experts and learning from evolution. We cannot afford to ignore evolution because it has the wisdom of our ancestors from thousands and thousands of years. And we have to learn to accept this is how we are and modify our behaviors accordingly to have success in all our pursuits. I hope this video was very helpful to you in terms of understanding where this behavior kicks in. If you like these videos, please like, share your opinions in the comments and let me know what you want me to talk about. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And always remember what I keep on saying at the end of my videos, to keep walking and remember that growth is life. Thank you.